Greetings, everybody. Welcome to Mornings with the Focus. Got Justin Walters with me once again. I'm Wilson Turvey Jr. And look, man, today's gonna be real easy, real fun. Justin does this quite a bit. He'll hit me randomly. We talk a lot off of here, and he'll just have a list of things that he wants to discuss. So today we're gonna kind of give you guys a little bit of insight to some of those discussions. Where Justin brings up some things, some interesting topic points, some interesting conversations and or takes. Just a reminder. Mornings with the Focus is all about having a conversation with you guys. Hit up the comment section to join the conversation. Share your thoughts on what it is that we're talking about, or if there's somewhere else you want to steer the conversation, you're more than welcome to. All right, Justin, let's go, man. What you got? On mute.
Yep, there you go. Might as well just start off with the hottest one of them all. Let's go I don't know. You got if you have that. I got that Lamar Jackson take from an unnamed source on the when they were doing the quarterback tiers. Let me see if I have it. It said.
Oh, man.
I know I sent it to you. Oh, here it is. Here it is. I got it. All right. So if he has to pass to win the game, they ain't winning the game. He's so unique as an athlete, and he's a really good football player. But I don't give a S if he wins the league MVP 12 times. I don't think he'll ever be a one as a quarterback. He'll be a one as a football player, but not as a quarterback. So many games come down to 2 minute, and that is why they have a hard time advancing, even when they are good on defense. Playoffs are tight. You have to be able to throw the ball. He is just so inconsistent throwing the ball. It is hit or miss. So obviously, it said a defensive coordinator said that. And again, not saying I take his side, which I don't, but I think it's something that for someone to say that who's in the league who plays against them, that means that's a thought that some of the people have. And I think for me, it was just more they'd rather see him passing than running. You know what I mean? Or again, and that's not an indictment fully on him. That's an indictment on that team, on that whole system, whether it's the offensive coordinator, whether it's whatever it is, the lack of weapons. So I think it comes down to a lot of things. But of course, the way it was worded sounds bad, and the way people run with it. Again, I just think a lot of people they like to go extremely right and left, like far, when the truth is usually somewhere more towards the middle. It's not that he can't throw. He may miss a throw occasionally, but his physical skills make up for every one of those weaknesses. And he can, as a thrower, has an arm that most of these guys don't. You know what I mean? So I think that's part of it. But again, that offense hasn't really evolved or developed the way it should have, and it's set up a certain kind of way. So which leads to the question of, is the offense set up that way because of him, or is the offense set up because, just hasn't evolved because of a bad offensive coordinator, which, both can be true. I just think there's more to it, and I think too many people want to say you can't say anything bad about Lamar, or you can't say anything good about, it's not true, and again, if he's in a different system, would he be this guy or would he be another guy? And, we can say anything, but we really don't know, and I think that just my main purpose was just if a defensive coordinator is saying that, then that's part of how they scheme them. There's teams that scheme a certain kind of way. And I like, for me, it's hard to forget that Miami game where they blitzed, like 30 plays in a row and hit on most of them. And again, that's not all Lamar, because if you don't give a guy options, or you don't have the protection, or you don't have the hots put it, so it all, it's a system thing, and unfortunately it gets pinned on him. And another thing is, unfortunately, you get a lot of people that enjoy piling on Lamar, when he's had nothing but really real success in the NFL. So I think that's part of the problem. But again, the people that try to make it seem like you can't say anything bad about him, that's not fair either. So that was what I took from that take. Not so much another person making a comment that could be viewed a certain kind of way.
What's going on, Sid? Appreciate you. Yeah, man. Like, I think it's one of those things. Like, multiple things could be true, right? As you said, the length at which this person went to say it, beyond disrespectful, unnecessary, and it has some extra undertones to it. Like, you need to chill out. You could have made this point without all that extra, right, underneath it. That's what I truly, truly believe. But again, two things can be true. Um, does the passing game in Baltimore need to improve? Yes. As a quarterback, you're gonna take a big percentage of the blame for that. Cool. When getting blitz, it seems that's the book to deal with him is, really send pressure. And he's going to have to figure out whether it's in him and the coordinator are going to have to figure out the answers to what the defenses are bringing to them, right? And what we've seen thus far is that's the easiest way to slow him down, right? And that's cool. So we also know the easiest way to slow Pat down is to not blitz. So we got two dudes. People look at them so differently. To me, it's both dudes with the ability to put the capes on and take teams places and do things other people can't do, right? However, their issues are like polar opposites. But nobody dared, like the thing with Pat though, we don't question the soundness of the scheme. We just won't do that to Andy Reid. Andy Reid has built up enough equity through his time in this league where we like, man, maybe you should trust what, don't bail on the play, Pat. Maybe just see what Andy got cooking up for you. Maybe he got the answers. Meanwhile, and anybody knows me personally, I've been screaming this about G-Rose since like 2012, man. And got cost, people didn't take things too seriously because another polarizing player was under center for him, which he kind of got off scot-free too, where it was more about the signal caller and what people's perceptions of the signal caller was, what was and wasn't, versus the scheme, the soundness of the scheme, and how often they were prepared with the necessary answers, right? So yeah, Lamar needs to get better. Cool. Lamar's also a top 10 quarterback in this league. Cool. Lamar's also won an MVP. Cool. Multiple things can be true. Does he need to improve? For sure. Does that scheme need to improve? For sure. So just for me personally, I would love if both of those things, I feel like you can't bring up one without the other, and I think we do it too far too much without, with leaving Roman out of it. And again, the reason we never do it to Pat is because it's Andy freaking Reid. We just don't do that to him. Matter of fact, there's other quarterbacks where when they're with there's other less talented quarterbacks that are paired with what are perceived as very good play callers, where we almost, and I'm not saying you and me, but there's a good portion of people that they excuse the stupidity of the quarterback and be like, oh, the play caller needs to put him in better situations. So how can you look at that and make that decision or take that from that, but then with him just be like, oh man, he's a bum, he can't understand, can't read, write, throw, yada yada yada, whatever. Yes, I'm sure in a perfect world he's much more dangerous from the pocket, but we've also seen like just throwing some numbers out there, man. Like that touchdown to interception ratio is kind of nice. 84 touchdowns and 31 interceptions in his career. So despite the scheme and all that other stuff, it's not like he's out here playing blind and just being trash. However, yeah, there's a book on him. And again, it's up to the quarterback and the play caller to figure that out. You got to provide the guy with answers to beat what the defense is presenting you. But yeah, Mark does need to get better at stuff. But at the same time, like, it's somewhere in the middle. Y'all gotta chill. Because to me, even if you want to take the worst view of him, what you can say is he's not one of the better players in the NFL. Like, you can just hate him all you want, but what you can't say is he's not a problem. You can't say you look forward to playing him if you're a team that plays him multiple times a year. You also can't say if you see him in the playoffs, you're like, yes, we drew the Ravens. No one's doing that. All right? No one's excited about that. But yeah, but this is the issue with the Ravens. You got to figure that out. And I don't even know, going to the contract thing, like if I'm Lamar, like, there might have to be a discussion with me and the Ravens, like, bro, we got to open this thing up. That's why this year is important to me, because there has, like, we've seen Roman take a couple steps in doing better, building off the run game and what have you. But this looks so familiar. That's all I'm gonna say. This looks eerily familiar, and at some point, we gotta look at it, man. You gotta look at it. They did the same thing with Cap, and he wasn't even on Lamar's level. He just wasn't. I'm not trying to be mean. Just he ain't come with all that. The athleticism, sure, but it wasn't all that. Like it's kind of wild, but hey. Sid had this question for you, Jesse. You think it's wise for Lamar to play this season without an extension?
I mean, where he's at right now, it's almost like he's giving himself a prove-it year. You know what I mean? If he balls out, his asking price is whatever it wants to be. I mean, I guess then they would only franchise him. But I don't know. I mean, again, sitting out, and he's in that weird spot where he doesn't get the benefit of the doubt that everyone else does, whether it's unjust. But, I mean, I think you have to play. But I don't know. I just think, like I said, being his own agent and all the things that have come with him, not his fault. I just think him sitting out would be almost hurt him more than it would help him in some ways.
Yeah. He has to play. I would agree with Mike Florio too. Often, like rarely. I'm talking about like rarely. But one of the things he said recently was like, so one of the reasons like the talk about some of the how loud like some of the negative stuff on Lamar can get is because he doesn't have an agent. There's not somebody publicly fighting the narratives where I've seen other QBs far lesser. Man, the PR is amazing. You can't say a word about them dudes. Like people just won't let you do it.
Well, you got to remember those big name agents are tied to teams, because they have players and have relationships, which they can sprinkle stuff out there.
And it goes a long way because, they could just hop in their phone and be like, hey, you owe me. You better put that stuff out here. Don't you let them talk about my mans like that.
Right.
Cool. Right. But, he has to play. But, again, for Baltimore, if I was Baltimore, I would have got this done already. Because if he goes out and he's healthy this year and goes nuts, now we're getting to a place where he kind of gets to demand a little something. I would already had this done. We just saw what Kyler got. And Kyler postseason success hasn't even been Lamar's. Some of his regular season success hasn't been Lamar's. And he just got 160 guaranteed. It's what, up to 230. And then, we think about what Deshaun's done or whatever. Lamar's going to be looking at, like, Kyler's contract could be the floor. But if you got this done already, you would have been chilling. But again, like, I think Baltimore came back up and got him. I think they're going to do right by him. I think they're just trying, it's the NFL, man. They're going to try to, if they can find a way to pay less, they will. It's just the business of the NFL. I wouldn't take it too far as, like, they're going to separate or anything like that. And that's the other thing, too. Like, all the people don't like Lamar. Like, if he was to accidentally become free, like, some of y'all be upset about what your teams would do. Be real honest. How quickly people could move for other people. So,
Right. If you know what, they're putting themselves in a tough spot, to be honest with you, because, as much as we complain about stats or this type of thing, like his stats are going to look a certain kind of way. Like there's no matter what he does this season, his stats, up to this point are what they are. So, I mean, say he has a 25 touchdown, 10 interception season, which isn't even crazy. But you add that on what he already has, and you bring that in the room with an MVP, like that's better than anything Deshaun's ever done. And Deshaun's, Deshaun got the contract he had. So, I mean, it's like, there's really not much he can do. Like, he'd have to play basically the way he finished the last season, when he was playing before he got hurt, and play a season like that, which you could say that, but there's only certain teams that this blitz thing sounds great, but the flip side of that is if you miss, what happens? Which he has the ability without even throwing the ball to make you pay. And then there's only certain teams that can actually do those things where we can blitz, but we have guys who can catch them from behind. We have a D-line that's disciplined enough to, you have a Miami, a Steelers, like those type of teams. Not everybody can do this thing that we're saying are his supposedly kryptonite or this system's kryptonite. Like not every, so you're going to get those games where he's playing, I don't know, Houston or whatever, or Jacksonville or something, or just anyway, an average or a good team, Kansas City, there's certain teams that are just not built to play that style that can stop him. So he's still a guy that can put the game on his back and win games, which he did last year at certain times. So to just act like we're all gonna punch in this one defense and it's like automatically a sack, like old Tecmo Bowl, which it's not that easy. It takes discipline. You're always one play from getting burned. And I think that's the part that he brings to the table that is almost like it's making this offense look better than it really is.
Is.
If you think about it, you have a scheme. Why can a team call the same plays over and over again defensively and stop it? That's not only on the quarterback. You know what I mean? That's an adjustment needs to be made somewhere, whether it's a hot route, whether it's, having receivers that can win one-on-ones, whatever it may be. Like, that's not all on him. Somebody needs to make an adjustment. And I think that's been part of the issue. So, like, you've had a whole offseason. As defenses have studied what stopped them offensively, you should be self-scouting as well to figure out how to not have this keep happening too.
All right, so yeah, just reading while just reading way too much, but someone put out again because people love numbers or what have you. Under 5 minutes, fourth quarter and trailing, last 3 seasons. Pat Mahomes, 39-62, 509 yards, 63 completion percentage, 8.2 yards per attempt, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception, 110.2 QB rating. Lamar. Sorry about that. You hear me? I'm good.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, yeah. Sorry about that. Had a nice little technical issue. Fun times. Your computer just restarts that quick. Doesn't say a word. Caught me off warning. But now what I was saying, just sharing those stats real quick, just because it was interesting to me at the time. Oh my goodness, and of course it's lost. Well, either way, my point being is that under 5 minutes in the last 3 seasons, Lamar's has performed better as a quarterback than Pat, statistically, and you would never know that the way some people talk about it. And again, both of them have issues. There's a book out on both, and it's the complete opposite, which is so interesting. And I'm anxious to see which person which person could kind of change that. And I feel like Pat's set up better to change it because Andy's going to provide the answers. I do not have faith that Greg is going to provide the answers for Lamar. Honestly, that's just me.
And again, to have the amount of success they both had, and it's been basically 3-4 years. I think it's the other younger guys that we talk about, like Josh Allen's, the Justin Herbert's, Joe Burrow. Like, they haven't had enough success for there to be a book out on them yet. It's not that they don't have these weaknesses. I think this, as much as we're sometimes we're so quick to try to crown somebody and say he's the next this or he's that. Like, Lamar's at that point now where, not even say it's a crossroads, but it's like, okay, does he take the next step? Because if he settles here, that's still, like you said, still a top 10 quarterback. But if he keeps going, whether that's him, whether it's the OC, whatever the case may be, that's how we find these elite guys. But the problem is we're trying to make these guys elite today. So now you have, again, I listen to podcasts talking about Joe Burrow, how he lives. He's kind of a one-read guy, and how dependent he is on the quick game or the fades. Like, okay, now what happens when that gets changed? Does he have an adjustment? Like Aaron Rodgers faced that. He made the next step. Like, there's not 15 Hall of Fame quarterbacks in the NFL right now. But some of these guys have got up to a good start, and we kind of just pushed them ahead. Okay, he's better than him, even though he's only done it for 1 year. But this guy's been doing it for 4 years and has an MVP. Like, the team defenses do adjust, and again, it comes down to you and your fit and your team. And I think that's where a lot of these younger guys, we still got to see it. We got another year of that Super Bowl run was great, but there were some holes in that run for Burrow, and what happens next? And then some of the guys who started off a little slower, do they take the jump now that they have better talent around? I think Lamar's in Mahomes and a couple others, they're on the other side of that where, Mahomes kind of already blew through it, but he still has questions, little questions, but they're concerns. And then Lamar has his stuff, which is, team based in him as well. He can make some improvements also. But now, like, does he continue on that Hall of Fame level he was on, or does he settle into just a very good quarterback? And there's nothing wrong with either one of them, but I just think, he's just in a different time frame than some of these other guys.
Yeah, and I think that's fair. And again, some of those other guys, it's gonna happen. Like the book's coming. It comes for everybody. It's just how quarterbacks and play callers adjust to it. Like defenses are only gonna adjust to you. It's can you respond with the appropriate answer, and then they got to go find something else to deal with you. But that's the thing. But there's only like one quarterback in the league where like there's nothing you can do in this. That's because he's been around so long. He's seen everything. And Tom is just, and that's literally just his big weapon is the knowledge. Like he's seen everything. Like while defenses are trying to do something, he's like, oh, seen that before, got the answer. Oh, that looked like that, but it's really not. Got that answer too. All these other dudes, they are so far behind in that regard because they just haven't seen it enough. And again, like as the defenses adjust, yeah, man, it's gonna be. Scout report catches up to everybody, right?
Right.
And it's just the adjustment period. And again, it's always interesting to me when people talk about it, when people can discern when it's solely on the player or if it's the play caller. Where in this case, like, bro, look at them both. It's not difficult. I promise you. No one confuses the magic of the Baltimore scheme for any of these other play callers in the league, where that's being copycatted and lauded over, and people are making dissertations about other play caller schemes. Like, no one's doing that for Baltimore's. But again, like, it's a work in progress. I will give Roman a little bit of credit. Like, there's been some stuff that has been built off of it, but at the same time, like, bro, you got to do better in what you build off of that run game. And right now, the complexities in the run game versus their pass game it's the gap is huge, and I think they suffer for it at times. Really do. What you got next?
We got. I had this is just quick. When I was watching, I think I was telling you, I was watching the training camp, man. I was watching Stephon Diggs, man. He's disgusting. Like just watching somebody on air, and I know it's on air, but just watching him go through the drills, he was quicker than the smaller guys. He was more pure catching the ball than anybody. Like it's just you could kind of see how serious he is. Like it's probably not a big thing to watch somebody on air because he does it every week. But like what makes him so elite was just he went through the cone, went through the bags, he did the ladder, running routes and catching the ball, locating the ball. Everyone else could watch the rest of the team the way they looked, and that's the way he looked. I guess to be a 6-foot receiver and be, top 5 in the league, it's just a different skill set, because to be that small, you have to have a certain type of skill set. And he's not really, he's not small, but just to be that height and still be a real true number one receiver, there's a skill set that you have. And just watching him work is, what you see. And it sounds stupid because it is on air, but just it looks totally different than everybody else.
Nah, he just moves differently. It's sometimes stuff is real simple. Obviously, he's very good at his craft because he like fundamentally, he's so sound. But again, what makes it different? He just moves very differently than knowing that he has the fundamentals down, and it's kind of, and you see why. I don't think people have had those. Oh man, I've held Diggs the 3 catch type games. It's more so did the quarterback get him the ball type games. Really, like he just stays open. I don't care who the corner is. He stays open. He's going to win. And again, just like you talking about him again, and this is not a knock on Josh or anything. Like This is how you accelerate a quarterback's growth. This is how. Because they can keep getting better at the other stuff, and you want to talk about a huge security blanket. Yeah, a tight end, I'm sure, is a quarterback's best friend. A top five wide receiver is probably even better of a friend. All right, like you get any type of trouble, you miss something, you're unsure about a play or about a coverage or something, and death taxes and Diggs finna win. Does it matter that you didn't diagnose the whole play? No, you got the ball to your best player, right? And we could go back on film later and talk about what you saw, what you were unsure of, and all that. But you still got the ball to your guy. So you know, it's what it is. And again, I give Josh Allen credit for his continued improvement. But look, man, all this thing popped off once dude got traded. Once he got traded, that look, man, and look at what he did for Kirk out there. Like quarterbacks have had success throwing that man the ball. You got to give him credit. And I wish people give him more credit for just how good he is. But I think more than enough people know. It's just people need to give him a little bit more love. That's all.
All right, the next one I had was I don't know if Sid's in here, man, but being a fantasy guy, but remember we talked about the Waddle and Hill, the targets, like how that's going to be divided. I think, and again, we had a real good conversation about it, just how, most teams when you go to certain systems, the relationship Tua has with Waddle, then you're bringing Hill in. There's a guy like Hill, not because he has, his not sense of some, he has an ego, and I'm not going to pretend like he has a slight ego. At what point is it? Okay, we got to feed this guy the ball. Hey, let's give him an end around, even though it's not really fitting right now. Let's throw him a quick screen just to keep him and then this Tua have that relationship that he has with Waddle. He went to him ridiculously like a lot last year over everyone else. So I mean, especially for guys with fantasy or just for the team in general, is the comfort level Tua has with Waddle. And how will they divide the touches basically? Will the Hill stuff be schemed more and the Waddle stuff just be, okay, this is my guy? And again, like we talked about, is the offensive coordinator. It's not gonna be as so much, okay, you're on the left, you're on the right, you're both running stop route, pick one. That's where a lot of these other teams do. But just it was just something I thought about. It'd be interesting to see, as especially early in the season, where Tua goes when it's not schemed.
I think it'd just be easy, right? Like I know one thing, like I saw last year that used to get on my nerves. In the Bay was dude often had trouble being able to get the ball to Brandon at times when Brandon had favorable matchups because of where Brandon was on the field. So you take some of that stuff out of it. But my main point being that there were times when people tried to do stuff to take Debo away, and his complement, the guy on the other side, was able to win. Just the ball didn't always get there. However, I think with Tua, Tua had that at Bama where they had several guys. It was just more of, you get open, you get the ball. I don't think it's going to be one of those things where it's your turn, my turn, your turn, my turn. Depending on the situation, you got two dumb fast playmakers. And I think it's as simple as what's the defense in, and the defense is going to dictate where the targets go each week. Or play to play, quarter to quarter. I think whoever they play, that's who's going to dictate it. And there's going to be times where, you're going to be able to get, like, this is the thing. Having someone who's also a threat on the other side, it kind of limits how often you can bracket and do stuff to Tyreek. How often are you willing to do it if you're leaving someone to die on the other side? Like, not just get beat, but like, if you leave somebody one-on-one with Waddle, get hit over the top. Or, end up in space with that dude where you miss, it's a wrap, yak-wise. Is it worth it? Or is it better kind of just try to keep the dudes in front of you and get after the quarterback in which they could just run their offense? So I'm interested to see it. I think yesterday, I referenced like the target differential between like Debo and BA. I think I was like the target differential might be like 30 something. This morning I think it might be closer than that. I think it's going to still favor Ty, just because it's dude's another dude that just stays open, right? Like stays open in that scheme. He's going to be open. But I think the target will be closer because of the connection Tua has with Waddle. So it's like he's never gonna forget about him. You know what I'm saying? Where, again, not to keep going back to what's it called, but like that was the issue sometimes in the Bay was dude to be doing his thing over there. Dude ain't even thinking about, like, it's just not an option. I'm gonna go force it somewhere where I'm more comfortable. I don't see Tua doing that type of thing. It's gonna be, hey, I got Ty, ball out. Oh, I don't have Ty. Where's my guy at? And I think that's the luxury. Like, to me, in my mind, it's a luxury. I got the guy, and then I got my guy. Eventually, the guy's gonna become my guy too. But my guy that I know that I got a mind meld with, if that's who I'm going back to in the progression, man, I'm in a great place. When stuff breaks down, like, yeah, I don't see the issue. But Sid says from a fantasy perspective, I prefer Waddle. I think Hill will live behind the line of scrimmage at least early in the season. Waddle, Hill, Gesicki, Edmonds, Wilson, a lot of mouths to feed. These top wide receivers want the ball every game. Look at Cooper calling out Dak. I do think that the top wide receivers want the ball every game. I do agree with that. However, I also think that top wide receivers that play in like elite schemes, you don't trip about it because they're like when it's time, bro, you're going to be schemed open. You're gonna get looks where it's just 1-on-1. You're going to get yours, so I don't think you worry about it that much. However, like we haven't seen Mike do this before, so we have to see Mike prove it to all of us. I just feel comfortable thinking that Mike could be fine. Like if you just ran like an offshoot version of the dude you've been around for the last 15 years, I think you're ahead of the game. You'll be okay. So players like Diggs can live without targets. I don't think Hill can. I even think I don't even think Diggs can live without the targets. I think
Diggs.
I think Diggs is one of those give me the damn ball dudes, but I think they're fine with not getting it. If when we saw Gabriel Davis like go nuts, yeah, I'm fine with it because I'm getting if I'm gonna get extra attention comes my way, somebody else has to kill. Now, if you kill, then it's worth it to me. Now, if I'm getting 2 or 3 sets of eyes and we can't function, conversations have to be had.
Most of these guys are having when you see the supposed outbursts, it's usually when things ain't going well. Like we getting blown out and I ain't getting the ball when I think I'm winning. I think you get more of those situations than like I'm mad. We're up 42-7 and I'm mad because the guy on the other side got 3 touchdowns. Like I don't think most guys ain't doing that. Maybe there's one occasional, but for the most part, guys, they're there to win. You know what I mean? They feel like they're the best matchup, so they want the ball. I don't think it's more of as much of a stat feed me because my contract, that type of thing. I think it's just, they're playing one-on-one. We practiced all week. I know I'm the go-to guy. I can get open at any point. So it's just a confidence in their ability, and especially when you see things going bad, it's like, it's even more frustrating, I would imagine. So I think that's where a lot of these outbursts come from. I don't think it's just selfish. As much of these guys are selfish thing.
Yeah, that's where I'm at with it too. But again, like I know how I feel. Like again, if I'm getting 2-3 sets of eyes, the rest of the offense better be working great.
Right.
Now, if it's not, oh my goodness, you might as well just throw it to me in double coverage at this point.
Right.
Conversations have to be had. But yeah, I think it'd be fun. But like clearly, like the top 3 targets there are going to be Hill, Waddle, and Gesicki. After that, it's gonna be what it's gonna be. But there's so many ways in that offense if Mike's running to get them type of dudes the ball. Because like the fun part is the same stuff you could do with Tyreek, you could do with Waddle.
Right.
Same stuff.
Right.
Again, and not to keep harking back to the Bay, but like that's the thing that makes it fun. Like they don't do it the exact same way, but they can both do it. Like BA he don't run like Debo, but he's also a yak dude. Like you can still do the same stuff. It doesn't look exactly the same, but the fact that you can do the same stuff and it's comparable, like bro, that's a problem.
I think their stats come. I'm sorry. I think both of their stats come down just off the strength of the weapons. You might have more yards because of the explosive plays and the space they're going to create for each other. But again, with so many mouths to feed, with Cedric Wilson, who also has run after catch ability, you have the tight end, you got all the running backs. So I mean, you're probably not gonna have a 100 catch guy. You know what I mean? But you might have both up one with 70 and one with 80. Oh no, just 80 and 65 or 75 and 65 or something like that. But you might have higher yards per catch for one of them. Because I know Waddle had a really low yards per catch because he caught so much short stuff last year. So that'll change. You know what I mean? But I think when it comes to the fantasy type thing, you're not gonna have a Cooper Cup season. They're not feeding guys like that because there's so much talent around and an actual scheme based on feeding everybody.
Yeah, no, I agree with you wholeheartedly. And just within that scheme, man, people are going to eat. People should be fine. And the other thing is like you were talking about what the yak, all the yak that Waddle wasn't able to get. Oh man, welcome to a whole different world in which you'll get the ball in a bunch of space to where uh, almost like every reception counts for two of the old ones to a degree. When you get the ball in space like that, honestly, like it's like dude was averaging 9 yards a catch last year and 9 yards a yak afterwards to make it 18 yards a catch. Like you're gonna you're gonna have space, and yeah, you got one of the best weapons in the league, man. In that scheme, you'll be fine. And the complimentary piece is that you could do far worse. You could do far worse than having Waddle on the opposite side of Tyreek Hill. Uh, what else you got?
I had the another hot take was talking about Christian Kirk. I was like, just Christian
Oh
Kirk's
yeah,
a
yeah.
good receiver. You know what I mean? And we dove into it pretty good actually. Made it, and it's like Jacksonville doesn't get guys like that. So he's a sure thing. Like he's not this like world changing player, but at the end of the day, he made plays over in Arizona. As much as I've seen him, he can win deep. He's one short. He catches the ball. So for the most part, you're getting a guy who brings something to the table. So he's not going to go there and fizzle out. You know what I mean? He's going to go there. He'll make plays. It might not be. He's not going to do obviously the same flash as Tyreek Hill or something like that. But again, like you talked about, who are they getting? Tyreek Hill's not going there. So they're going to have to overpay. But Christian Kirk isn't a bad player, so he's gonna put up stats. He's gonna catch the ball. He's gonna get open. You know what I mean? And there's tons of times I've seen him in Arizona. I know he got Dallas. I think he got Dallas last year pretty good a couple times. He's made catches in that division, which is a hard division to play in. And a lot of times he was kind of the go-to guy anyway because Hopkins was injured. So this isn't a bad player. And again, going there, that's only gonna help him.
Yeah, like look, last year on a team where he was like the third option or what have you, um, he had more yards than the Jaguars' leading wide receiver. The third option in Arizona, he had more yards, um, nearly 200 more yards. Yeah, I think again, like when you're just a bad organization, you have to overpay for things, even if the things aren't like tier one things. But if they're better than what you usually get, you still have to overpay for them because no one's coming there on their own volition. No one in the whole world, unless they owe somebody something, is going to find their way in Jacksonville once they hit free agency. Now you got to overpay. Now, another thing is like you're worth what people pay you. I'm not mad at that for Christian Kirk. I also know like we didn't probably get to see everything he could do playing in that janky behind offense in Arizona. He was still effective in a tough division. Um, like I don't think he's gonna come out here and set the world on fire, but he's more than capable of being wide receiver one for that organization. Should be fine. It should be okay. And for a young quarterback, sometimes the best thing in the world is just having somebody who's supposed to be where they're supposed to be. Um, like look at what Kendrick Bourne was for Mac last year. You don't think no one thinks super highly of Kendrick Bourne, but KB typically is where he's supposed to be when he's supposed to be there. For a young quarterback, like that's huge. With everything else going around, if I could count on you to be where you're supposed to be, that's one less thing I got to worry about. And Trevor, everything that happened in Jacksonville last year was a you know what show. Some some type of consistency would go a long way for that kid trying to figure out life on his level. Um, Sid said, "Don't forget Zay Jones on the other side."
Yeah, I guess. But that was the signing that we were talking about that kind of bothered me more. Like, okay, you went and paid Kirk that money to be a guy, and you got Chenault, you got I think Marvin Jones is still there. The Zay Jones one, I don't know. I just didn't really get that signing because they paid him a decent amount of money too. But again, like we talked about, you're getting a guy who's proven he can play. He played for the Raiders last year and he contributed. So he'll go on the backside and be a number 2, number 3, and I think they saw something. I think you can't knock a team for grabbing NFL players. It's not like and I think that's where they failed last. I think a lot of times last year they had a lot of miscommunications and guys not like you talked about guys not being where they're supposed to be. So having guys who are just basically just do their job. And again, the Christian Kirk kind of reminds me of even Marvin Jones going to the numbers he put up in Detroit with Stafford. It was nothing special, but he always put up good numbers because he was reliable. I think he's there now, but he's older now. But I think that's what they're looking for. And again, another thing is Lawrence still on the rookie contract. You're overpaying Kirk, so it kind of averages out. And by the time it's time to pay Lawrence, the Kirk money will probably be less or be gone. So I think that's just part of the development of the quarterback, which is the most important thing for them right now.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest thing, like you said, is regardless of what you had over there, especially offensively, the two dudes you just paid for, whatever people might think about them, they're pros already. They're pros. They're pros. Everybody else on that roster, like that's the thing. You can count the pros on the number of hands right now. On the entire roster. And then on the offensive side, they're pros. Yes, Zay Jones is not he's not on the top 10 list anybody's wide receiver 2. All right? Maybe not on somebody's top 10 list of wide receiver 3s. However, he's a pro. He's stuck in the league this long, right? Regardless of whatever we think of him. You said he contributed on the Raiders last year, which he did. He's a pro. And Jacksonville didn't ask him to come there to save them. Like, literally, just show up and do your job, please. That's all we want. Yeah. Please. So, when we're telling the kid the plays, so when he sees them, now he can just try to figure out the coverage is not what y'all are doing. If you're supposed to hit a certain depth, at least I can trust Zay Jones to be at the depth he's supposed to be at. I can trust Christian Kirk to be at the depth he's supposed to be at. To attack this leverage the way you're supposed to attack it goes a long way. The littlest things in the world, but when you're a bad organization, you typically do a bad job of evaluating talent, and you get people who can't do those little things, and that puts you in a position that has you overpaying for other teams' quote-unquote role players or contributors.
Right.
You're here now. It is what it is. You put yourself here. You got to find your way out of it. If that means spending, overpaying on some guys, hey, it is what it is. That's on you.
Right. I mean, they're young. They're young. Basically, they're younger veterans. So, I mean, they're veterans, but they're not. They're not on the downside yet. They're still kind of rising, but they have the NFL experience. And like you're saying, you get that reliability. But who's to say? You get them where they're just giving you what they're, the basics, what they're supposed to give you. But you're still hoping that a guy like Chenault breaks out.
Mm-hmm.
Or Etienne breaks out. Like, you don't know, but those are the guys where it's like we don't know. So we can't put all our eggs in those baskets. But we know worst case scenario, we have this. You're giving yourself a baseline. And then allowing those other guys to, okay, you're not consistent with your routes, but we know we can get you there at the end of the round. Okay, come in and take a deep ball, because these other guys are doing the basics. And I think that's another thing with a young team is you can't just, a lot of these young teams just throw a bunch of young guys and they blow up, because when it doesn't work out, you got nothing. So at least it's like, okay, the baseline is this, and then if things all click, this offense could be really good.
Yeah. And I think, what's it called? It's getting some pros and people you could count on, be reliable with. It also lends to some type of structure too, right. Which is, boy, do they need it. And like you said, with somebody like Sid's bringing up LaVisca, if you have two dudes that are going to be where they're supposed to be, now you can let a wild card be a wild card.
Right.
Last year, everything was a wild card, and you can't operate like that.
Right.
You can't you got to have some type of structure for the out of structure dude to operate. But if everything's out of structure, what you want the out of structure dude to do? All right, so I know you got a couple more. We'll knock today out.
Oh, yeah, we got quick. The Badger effect. So was the loss of Honey Badger, is it that important? Is that big of a deal for Kansas City when they have Thornhill, and they signed Justin Reed, and then they took the rookie, I think James from Cincinnati. I forgot his name.
Oh man, I think it'll be fine, honestly. Um, your defense is gonna change a little bit, anyways, because you didn't just lose Badger, you lost Charvarius Ward, who I know a lot of people don't care about, but he was the dude that they threw on other people's top dude and just left them on an island while they built the rest of the defense around, babysitting Sorensen and things of that nature. And that was how their defense went about their business, was literally, hey, you go get their number one and we'll deal with the rest of the team. But you don't get any help. Whatever happens between you and him, that's between you and him, and that's that.
Right.
And then, like you said, with Honey Badger do what it is that he does, it kind of put Thornhill at an awkward place because you asking somebody who's a natural playmaker to babysit. And that's probably against his instincts, and we saw that suffer a little bit. And then you got Sorensen, who you also have to babysit. So, yeah, I think name-wise, it's going to look like they took a step back.
Right.
But, I mean, you change the scheme a little bit, and you adjust. I don't think it's going to be as – it should be similar to last year. It just won't look the same. Might even be better because you got two good safeties now instead of whatever it was before where technically three safeties were on the field, but nobody ever felt safe back there.
Right. I think Brian Cook's the name, I'm sorry, for Cincinnati safety that we drafted. But, but I'm saying, like you said, what we talked about, Matthew kind of became just a wild card. He didn't even he wasn't really playing safety. It was kind of like a box guy, but it was versatility. But I think just this allows them, and talk about the Tyreek Hill move, just allowed them to get younger. And it's fully Patrick Mahomes' team. It's, that now the defense can be ran a certain kind of way. It's just they can all develop together and they have talent. Now, like we talked about, Thornhill, and now he can play more of that rover position. And, and he can play deep safety. He can, just getting Sorensen out there is a plus. But then just having Honey Badger, it almost was his defense. So now it just allows them to kind of recreate themselves. Figuring out what they do at that corner spot seems like a bigger thing for me actually than the Honey Badger thing.
I think I actually got the answer to that, right? What they're banking on. So Darius Sneed's another one of them dudes who's solid and nobody pays too much attention to. I think he's going to step in the CB1 for them this year. He's going to get the first crack at it, right? You talk about McDuffie. I know they got Rashad Fenton, but I'm going to give Fenton, it depends because I think he's starting the year on a pup. So he's kind of opening the door. It's going to be L'Jarius Sneed and some young kids. And some kids, period. I'm sorry for saying young kids, and some kids, really. And because of the safeties behind them, in their mind, you just deal with the kids being young, and if they get up to speed, it's worth it. What are the one thing we know they like to do? They like to get man-to-man corners, and that's what they're about. Because they want to ideally leave you on islands. It's still Spagnuolo out there, right? Yeah, he just wants to clamp up, go after quarterbacks, and it's going to be what it's going to be. So what you got? You got L'Jarius Sneed on one side. Joshua Williams for Fayetteville State's going to get a chance. And you got Trent McDuffie probably in the slot. Lonnie Johnson's out there. But, you see the type of dudes they want, man. They just want athletes that can man up. And again, I don't think any of them are going to be what Ward was for them last year or maybe the past couple of years, but you don't have to be because they upgraded the safety position. You probably got on paper, you have one of the better safety duos in the league. If they actually do what they're going to do, you got two interchangeable pieces that are natural playmakers, you should be fine. And then along the way, as the kids get better, you might have a more complete defense, even though, you lost some bigger name dudes.
Yeah, it's more like you said. It's a part of the building. I think sometimes you see a name go and you think the team's going to fall back, but again, just allows them to actually run more of a scheme where it's not tailored towards a certain player. And seeing, I know Sneed plays inside and outside, so I'm not sure how that's going to work out between him and McDuffie, who plays inside, plays outside. But again, they definitely need to, with as much man as they usually play. Maybe maybe you get more too high now, and they actually have some good young linebackers, which that's another interesting thing of, they played a lot of 3 safeties last year, but mainly because of Matthews' versatility. But now with better linebackers, and I think they drafted Chenault from Wisconsin. So and what's his face? I think Nick Bolton had a great year last year.
So they have, what is it? The 3 of them. They got Willie Gay, Leo Chenal, Nick Bolton. They got Jermaine Carter behind that. Like, they have some athletes on the second level. So, like you
Right.
said, you could play too high. So, have your scheme and let those young athletes on the second level do, run around.
Right.
Let the kids lock up outside, and by the end of the year, think how much better the kids should be because of the reps.
Right.
You
Right.
live with it.
They kind of attacked it the same way they attacked the offense. It was like a numbers thing. So you kind of have 14, 15 guys capable of starting. So you have, three corners you like. You got 3 safeties you like. You got 3 linebackers you like. And you can't play them all at the same time. Hopefully you can win with a 4-man rush. But if not, Spagnuolo doesn't mind. He's doing whatever it takes. Moving guys around, blitzing, whatever it is that he needs to do. He doesn't mind changing the defense up to make it fit the systems, fit who they have. So I think that's a plus. So they're just giving him as many weapons as possible, and let it see how it works out. Because it's not like they need to win 10-6 anyway. You know what I mean? That's the other thing. Like, they're planning on putting up 30, so they can hold you. They win.
You got some wiggle room to let the kids grow. Like, if you do bad, so what? And then think about the safety net behind them. Because I don't think they're gonna let anybody do the award thing. Hey, how's everything going out there? Like, we're playing a different defense. I don't care what you got. Jamar Chase. You got the Stephon Diggs. We'll deal with the rest of the Bills. We'll deal with the rest of the Bengals. Nah, man, you got a whole defense, like you said, a whole scheme all together, and that's that. Sid got a question. He said, "Do you guys believe the Chiefs got better this off season?"
For me, I'll say I think they took like a half step back to make a step forward in the future, maybe. And the only thing that made me question it was just I didn't realize Kelsey's like 32 years old or something like that. So that's the only thing is, like, do you waste a year of Kelsey? I mean, because in that division, without just having faith in Mahomes and Reed, you could easily say they're not the best team in that division, talent-wise. But you're just saying based off of, the past and Mahomes and, just believing it's going to work out. But I think they took a step back. I definitely, you don't lose a player like Tyreek and, seeing what they do to replace Matthew. That's another thing. But yeah, I would say they did.
I think they might have taken a small step forward defensively. Offensively, they took a step back. Right, you don't replace Tyreek Hill. All right, you can't. It's going to take several people to do that. But the fun part in that is, if your defense is a little bit better, hopefully your defense can give you some wiggle room for your offense to sometimes play a little bit more slower. Everything doesn't have to be, boom or bust offensively. You don't have to live that dangerously. Dare I say punt every once in a while. But even like they were boom or bust defensively. And that was the problem. That's why I feel like defensively they took a step forward just by being more sound in my mind. Because they just weren't sound.
Right.
Because if Charvarius Ward had a less than very good game, they were in a shootout. Like, let's keep it a buck. If he has an off day, they're in a legit shootout. Because that means someone's number one wideout is running rampant across their defense. So, yeah, man, I think defensively they took a step forward. Offensively, yeah. You don't just give those things up, buddy.
I mean, I think maybe a positive is it almost, forces you to not take deep shots, to call certain stuff plays. Whether, is not here. It's like, okay, well, we go into a game plan saying, hey, we're not going to take deep. We're just going to be patient. But you keep looking over and seeing Tyreek there. Now you look over there, he ain't there. So now you have to run the ball. You got, in Philly, they relied on Westbrook a lot. So, maybe you involve the running backs more. You use Juju a certain kind of way. MVS is more your deep threat. Just I think it's going to force them to have to be more, just run the offense. When sometimes you get away from when you have Kelsey, when you're just basically going between Kelsey and Tyreek.
Yep. So I think that's where we are. I guess one more, Justin. What you got? One more.
All right, all right. I think I made this one. I came up with this one last night. The Broncos skill group versus the Raiders skill group, meaning just
Oh boy.
yeah,
Jeez.
including the quarterback.
Oh man, that's what you're on. That's how you want to.
Yeah,
Oh, violence has been chosen. All right. You said Raiders versus the who? The Broncos.
right.
Oh man, you can start that one off. It's your topic. That's tough.
Well,
Um,
what? It comes from the difference between. I don't think Carr and Russ are that far apart, especially the way Russ has been recently. You're hoping for. Then you're hoping for him to jump and go back to what he was in early Seattle, or what he showed in flashes in Seattle. And then for me, I think the biggest thing, not even so much the quarterback situation, because Carr has his flaws also, is that there's roles for those guys in Oakland. Each guy kind of fits to a certain thing, and you can kind of see what they're going to do. Whereas Denver, you're going to wait. You got to get there and see how it goes. Who's really the number one, who's the number two, who's three, how they use each guy. Again, having seen their running game is probably better, but then then you're comparing McDaniel against, I think it was Nathaniel Hackett, and someone trying to put another system in for Russ and how that works out. But I don't know. It'd be interesting. It'd be interesting. I think just knowing you got Waller to do what Waller does. Adams does everything. You got I want to say Cole Beasley, but it's not Beasley. Hunter Renfro to do what he does. I'd like to see another. It'd be nice if they had another outside receiver, but just the way it's all fit, they can work each part of the field with what they have. I would wish they had sadly Ruggs or something like a speed threat to really stretch the field. But everything they have, that'll probably actually be Waller. But Adams proves he can win in every way. I just think the way it sets up for them, and then knowing how McDaniels likes to use the run game and these running backs, maybe Jacobs has a big year, or Drake, or one of the other guys. But it's just set up well for, I think, that offense is designed. Should design well.
Man, yeah, you might have me with this one. Like you said, I think the defined roles with the Raiders make it a little bit like the picture's clear over there, right? Because of the roles for sure. I also think like with Nathaniel Hackett, I think my guess is they're gonna be running some version of that McVay, LaFleur, Shanny scheme. Because Hackett was a QB coach over there the whole time, right? Not the whole time, but the last 3 years with LaFleur.
Right.
I don't know where he was before that, so I'm not going to try to even pretend like I know that. So, like, again, like, thinking of, we talked about that scheme earlier, we talked about Miami. And Josh McDaniel does a great job offensively. Like, that's one thing I don't think he gets enough credit for. Sid said if everyone stays healthy, I prefer Raiders. However, I'm excited to see Sutton, Judy, KJ, and Hamler. I think the Raiders have the advantage to start the year because their new piece, quarterback, been known them already. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I think I'll give them the leg up to start because everything else is the same, right? Like every other target. And your new guy is, oh man, I threw to him in college, man. Y'all are good. Y'all best buddies. Y'all on the same page. You'll be fine. You might even be on a page that you and Aaron couldn't be on because y'all played together already before. Who knows? Obviously, Aaron is far exceeds the. There's a gap between him and Derek. All right, cool. Let's get that out the way. But yeah, I would give the Raiders a leg up because of that, right? However, I'm also anxious to see what the Broncos look like because Nathaniel Hackett, what's very interesting, him coming from where he's coming from And knowing the stuff that we've heard about Russ, he might be perfectly suited to deal with the veteran quarterback who likes to do their thing within this scheme. Because you were over there with Aaron, and Lord knows Aaron's going to do what Aaron wants to do when Aaron wants to do it. And they were still, Green Bay for the most part, was still always able to, it's not like they were bad. They were still damn good with it. You know what I'm saying? They were able to operate within that. So I think that might be the luxury, right, for Denver. However, everything's still new. Like, I know Russ doesn't waste time. He's had all the kids out there working with him and everything else, but they're gonna be a step behind Oakland. Like, that just, it is what it is. They're continuing. You know, that was just one addition. Bro, all y'all got to get used to a new quarterback. Obviously, like, or a quarterback, period, because y'all was in quarterback hell in Denver. But yeah, to start with, I get the leg up to Oakland. However,
well, the ceiling's higher.
More explosive. Yeah, the ceiling's higher in Denver. They are far more explosive.
Right.
Because you're talking about, like, Waller might be the way you stretch the field over there primarily, right? Which nothing's wrong with. Cool. Denver, bruh, Judy can eat on all three levels. Tim Patrick is a very solid player. Cortland Sutton, very solid player. Like, what's the question? I think they got what's dude from the Eagles a couple years ago that was solid, but they didn't really do anything with Travis Fulgham, like somewhere deep on their depth chart. Like, yeah, like you said, the ceiling could be higher, but yeah, I think Oakland got their leg up, and I think, you know, there's still a little bit of a gap between Derek and Russ, but Oakland gets to start with the leg up of, we already know each other. We're including Devontae Adams. Like, it's not hard.
Right. Plus like you said though, the Denver guys they still have to. They're still trying to separate, not say who can play, but at what level they play, because they haven't. You know, no one's really done it consistently. You know, I think Sutton's talent. I think combined, I love Sutton's talent. I think he has a high ceiling, but again, whether it's injuries or quarterback situations, none of those, you know, as good as Judy is, as good as Tim Patrick has flashed, and Hamler, you know, what he did in college. But it's like, you want to see it, you know? And I think that's the thing, is they're going to still be fighting to see who's the guy that Russ really trusts. And just a lot of things trying to be sorted out early.
Yeah, and that's going to be the fun part. But again, like, I'm right with you. I think Oakland has the leg up to start the year, and then the higher ceiling is Denver. Once you know, because you said, most of the kids over there, we've seen flashes, but if the light bulb can come on and stay on for any of them, or a few of them, oh, we got a fun discussion there.
Right.
But the luxury the Raiders have is Devontae Adams is Devontae Adams, and Devontae Adams far exceeds whatever the hell lines up at wide receiver for Denver. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, it'd be fun, but that was a good one. Yeah, that was a good one. I think that was a good one to end today on, actually. That was a really good one. So I'm looking forward to whatever you might have tomorrow. Sid, look, man, you can have the same homework, man. Feel free to come up with some things y'all want to talk about NFL-wise, sports-wise in general, and just stress me out, man. I'm here for it.
Yeah, Sid said he'll come on and talk fantasy since we don't know nothing about it.
Oh, yeah, that's fine. All you got to do, Sid, you hop on here and you're free. Just let us know, man. I'll pull you on real quick, man. It's not a problem. Like I said, I don't mind fantasy. I have an attention issue. I forget. Like, after the draft, I tap out. Like, oh, look, their game's on. Oh, did I start him? No. Oh, man, I would have had whatever points. That's crazy. And then I don't fix it for the following week. It's just like, oh, that's cool. But the draft, man, I'm all there for it. I'm locked in. After that,
right.
I'm kind of out. I want to thank you all for tuning in as always, man. Appreciate Justin being here. Just a reminder, every morning between 9:30 and 10, we will get started. You know, hit the comment section. Be like Sid. Hit the comment section. Share your thoughts. Tell us where you want the conversations to go. Where you chime in. Love to hear what you guys have to say. Again, be a part of the conversation. Thanks for watching Mornings with the Focus. We'll see you guys.